watched this movie sooner. That's right, they dropped a new Hellboy in 2024, sneakily deekily. And I know what you're thinking, bro, this is a Drip Fed Dread. I come here to get spooked. Why are you talking about Hellboy? Because the new Hellboy movie is one of the creepiest movies I've seen this year. And a lot of you are probably out there being like, Guillermo del Toro's adaptation was the best of all time. And then you other little freaks out there are like, David Harbour's daddy. Everything he does turns to gold. Well, guess what? I was genuinely surprised by this movie, from the performances to the design to the fact that it was a horror Hellboy movie. Give a boy a break. I thought this movie was phenomenal, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So if you want to talk about this, come hang out with me. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Fandom and Indie Review. I am your host, the Lucky Bone Dill. We are on the beautiful journey of 4,000 subscribers by Thanksgiving. If you don't like turkey, take yourself home a bag of fried chicken. We got so many videos coming. Check out the Tales from the Crypt one I dropped about the movies. Next week, we're going to talk about the top 10 best Tales from the Crypt episodes because it's Crypt Giving. So if any of this sounds awesome to you, if you love horror, and if you want to chase down a giant spider in the Appalachian Mountains only to discover the lore of a witch, come hang out with me and give me a subby. Hellboy the Crooked Man is a horror superhero movie. I bet you don't hear that much. Deadpool. Why am I calling out Ryan Reynolds like that? Based on the comic book obviously created by Michael Magnolia, who invented Hellboy for Dark Horse Comics. Yes, this is the second reboot of the Hellboy franchise, but hear me out. The dude that created the entire lore and mythos of Hellboy helped write the script. He was heavily attached to this project, so this is his passion project, so to speak, and I'm here for that. This movie is an adaptation of the limited series, so if you like the comic book a lot, this movie does that comic book justice. I will say the design of the Crooked Man in the comic books does look eerily similar to the design in the movie, so that's a plus. The movie follows in the 1950s. The Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, led by agents Hellboy and Bobby Joe Song, are tasked with transporting via train a toxic supernatural spider to their headquarters. And this spider is venomous and is one of the most deadly in the world. And when it breaks free from its container inside of this train and starts causing havoc, killing one of the other agents, Hellboy gets into a vicious fight with this giant spider, accidentally letting it out of the train, and Hellboy and his partner have no choice but to pursue it. They end up falling out of the train, tumbling down into some woods, and they are clearly in the Appalachian Mountains, one of the most creepiest settings in all of horror, whether it's supernatural or based in fear of if you're scared of like hillbillies. The movie starts off right out of the gates with that little action-packed scene of Hellboy fighting the spider, trying to contain it, and the movie from there is full gas, no brakes. The creepy thing too is how powerful and poisonous and venomous this spider is. It tends to shrink as Hellboy's chasing it, so the smaller it gets, he really tries to get it until it falls down into a storm drain vent type thing, a little latch in the middle of the woods, and their objective is like, well, we got to get this spider. There's one little part that I want to get out of the way that I want to talk about real quick, is the fact that a lot of us grew up with Hellboy as this anti-hero, as this person that we're not really scared of, but we appreciate his monstrous look. And I guess I never accounted for the fact that if someone saw Hellboy in a real-life setting, they'd be terrified. And I didn't think of that because, like I said, it's such a nostalgic character for us. So when Hellboy comes into the Appalachians and people see him at first, it like clicked with me. I was like, oh yeah, I guess like in the world of Hellboy, people that don't know about Hellboy, this creepy demon-looking figure, I could see why it's off-putting. But for me, I just knew what he looked like, so never once did I ever look at him like he was supernatural. So I never judged that book by its cover. So as Hellboy and his partner are left stranded in the Appalachian Mountains, Hellboy surmises that the spider only grew because of something haunted within the area. So it wasn't naturally that big before. Something about this little town gave Hellboy the ick right out of the gates. He has a supernatural sense for this. He was freaked out, but didn't quite show it. He admitted to his partner that he heard these woods calling to him. But yeah, Hellboy and Bobby Joe wander until they meet a man named Tom Farrell, and he becomes the other main character of the three. And Tom Farrell is such an interesting character. He is a local of this little community that recently returned so he could atone for his sins. He had a lot of baggage and regrets weighing on his mind. Tom is there essentially to talk to his ex-girlfriend Cora Fisher, the witch of this village, and Hellboy and his partner decide to go along with him and tag along for the journey because they're trying to figure out what is so haunting and eerie about this land. And clearly it is a witch, and Hellboy has an odd fascination for it because it is a witch. They go into this rundown house essentially and find the skin shedded of Cora Tom knows exactly that she will be back into her full body form, so as they are in this house at nighttime, Tail tells him the story about his life and how when he was younger he met another witch named Effie Kolb, a witch that attracted him towards witchcraft and convinced him to make a deal with an entity known as the Crooked Man. At Effie's suggestion, Tom used a cat carcass to summon the Crooked Man. The thing with the lore is, if you take this cat carcass and whatever bone you pick from the cat after you wash it clean, you can attract the spirit of the Crooked Man, but this bone becomes almost like a talisman or like a piece of magic that you can carry with you. However, the sight of the man terrified Tom, and I will tell you right out of the gates, it is very haunting and an ominous figure. The look and design of the Crooked Man is very creepy. Even before he speaks, the scene that Tom is rehashing as a flashback as a child, you see the image and the introduction and the shadow of the Crooked Man. It is very creepy. This haunting image of the Crooked Man gave Tom enough change of heart and discarded the lucky bone. But for some reason, this bone would always come back to him, and throughout his life, it became almost lucky. It became very lucky to him as he served time in the war. He never got a scratch on him. Everywhere he went, he would go to throw the bone away and it would just come back to him. And after talking about this story, the lore of Tom's life, Effie comes back to torment him another time. And from here on out, this movie has such a beautiful and haunting story that unravels in a masterful way. From Effie tormenting Tom to the Crooked Man coming back and wreaking havoc on Hellboy, it is great. There is this one scene where Hellboy is trying to help Cora and he gets bitten by a snake, and essentially they both go to hell, and he witnesses a woman standing there floating in the middle of a dark abyss, and it is his mom. So we get a great origin story and lore about Hellboy's mom, how Hellboy's mom was entranced by sin and dabbling in dark arts, and she was a witch. And so for her being a witch going to hell, her punishment was to have Hellboy as her son. So when he wakes up and comes back to, he has a revelation of all this. Like, he always knew that he was a witch. He didn't know much about his mom, but having the audience find out about that is very interesting. The snippet they show of hell is very creepy. This movie is filmed in such a theatrical, magical way, even though some could look at it and say it's very low budget special effects. It's not. I feel like it has a great quality of very supernatural realism and very distinct ambiance that created a tone of its own merit. And again, I'm not trying to spoil movies too much, so I'm going to wrap it up. But as they go to this rundown church helmed by a Reverend Nathaniel, played by Joseph Marcel Mans, the butler from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, has a scene-stealing scene in my performance. He is such a vivid and great and distinct character. His passion for his religion is there. He's very kooky, out of it, blind, but he has a very sophisticated nature to him. But arguably, the biggest steal of the movie is Martin Bazendale as Jeremiah Whitkins, aka the Crooked Man. I mean, this young actor nailed it out of the park, dude. Like, honestly, it's one of the few things that gave me chills. I know I say this a lot in videos, but if I had seen this movie when I was younger, if it was made back then and it was the same movie, but in the past, dude, I'd be fucking creeped out. The Crooked Man is such a haunting creature. He takes a copper coin for every soul he collects. He can manipulate people, and they find out around him that pretty much the tunnels underneath the Appalachians are like the veins inside of a body, and they run the circulatory system of the mountains, and the Crooked Man can rejuvenate energy from touching the ground and summoning demons. There's that one scene in the church where all these demons, all these zombies start coming after Hellboy, and it's very freaky and visceral and fun. Even Jack Kessie as Hellboy is super awesome. I know we love Ron Perlman. I know y'all love David Harbour, but Jack Kessie killed it as Hellboy. So yeah, all in all, they did a great backstory of telling the story of Hellboy and his mother, the story of Tom Farrell and the Lucky Bone, and how he is pretty much becoming a witch. He thinks he's becoming a witch, but Hellboy makes a note saying, you're just stronger than you think you are. You never needed that lucky bone to begin with. And Hellboy and his partner, Agent Sung, had a great chemistry together. It was a little bit on the romantic end, but very subtle, and you could tell that they cared deeply for each other. The Appalachian set was used very well, and it was very haunting and cinematic. And the evil in the movie that was introduced felt very real. If I had to give only one quarrel with this entire movie, just literally one, was that I feel like Hellboy wasn't as vital in this movie as he could have been. Yeah, we get his backstory, but it really focused more on Tom Farrell and Agent Song, and he kind of became a backbone to the movie. He was the backbone of the movie, but a back piece to the movie also. And even though he wasn't scared of much, it felt like he was getting ragged around a lot by the Crooked Man and other evil villains, making him not really as strong as he seemed. But yeah, Agent Song, she's a very vital character to this movie. She was very integral to the storyline. She was the rational one of Hellboy, of the agents between her and Hellboy. Even though Hellboy acted very tough, he wanted to protect her. She admits at one part of the movie she is dabbling with witchcraft, and that comes into play. And again, Reverend Nathaniel was awesome. All the main characters you were rooting for, you were really rooting for. All in all, this movie was very phenomenal. Like I said, it gave me some genuine scares along the way. It was written beautifully. It was a great origin story. If they're going to expand this into a franchise, I really hope the same production team and actors come together for more movies. This one nailed. I hope it performed well. And yeah, I mean, with the introduction of the Crooked Man, that character alone, this might be my favorite horror movie of 2024. But alright guys, what did you think about this video? Comment down below. Did you see this movie? Did you dig it? Please, I would love to know your thoughts on it. And I would also love to know what your favorite Hellboy movie is. Or if you think another Hellboy comic that should be made into a movie. But yeah guys, that's the video. Please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Give me a thumber. Hit that ding link button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm gonna say it one time for the one time and two time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror.
Oh, you didn't want me to squash?
No, squashing's good.
We got a cameo from Corey Haim in it. Not Corey Haim, rest in peace. From Corey Feldman, but he ain't a lost boy in this movie. I could.